took me years to figure out how to become a creative entrepreneur that makes $10,000 a month. You want to make a living off that creative passion you have that you literally give to the world. In case you're new here, I'm Devin. I'm an entrepreneur and videographer that's generated 6 figures doing what I love. After years of business ideas that have just ended up failing, I finally have a blueprint of what works. Let's get right into it. The first step I have here is obviously mastering a skill that's in demand. You probably already have a skill in mind. So in the guide that I've created, there is a little line here, and I just want you to write your skill. What are you going to try to make $10,000 a month with? There's a lot of great prompts to ensure that you become a striving creative. So early in my career, I was only charging a few $100s a project. At the time, it seemed like quite a lot because, I mean, you're making money for the first time ever doing the thing that you love. So it seems like a lot. But then when I started spending money on like the gear for my clients, new things that I could use for the clients, I want to elevate my craft for the clients. So then you keep investing in yourself, but that money has to come from somewhere. So along that path, I started realizing that charging this amount just doesn't justify the effort and time and money I'm putting in all those things. So you eventually get to a point where you realize something has to give, something has to change. So that's when you realize you have to raise your prices. One of the first ways I started getting word of mouth was I did a great job in a group of people that I knew would want that same work. And I did an excellent job, and then they told all of them, and then it just starts to grow that way. It's like a family tree, but, client word of mouth. They saw my expertise firsthand, and then they realized that they have to recommend me to others. I become an obvious choice for new clients. And the more you do that, the more the word of mouth will spread. I'll tell you this in step 1, word of mouth is the best tool for marketing. You cannot beat it. Nothing's better than unpaid advertising that's organic because you do a great job. Nothing will beat that. I actually heard this really great quote recently, and it goes, "Great marketing only uncovers a bad product faster." And that really stuck with me because at the end of the day, if you're not delivering great work, no piece of advertising is going to save you. The second step is to set the right pricing structure. I don't want you to be charging only $500 a month forever. I want you to actually get out of that phase as quickly as you can by creating demand. So that way you can actually raise your prices. See, you don't want to do so much work only to get to the 10 grand a month. You want to raise your prices to work smarter and not harder. Burnout is real, and I've experienced it. In 2023, I was just flooded with projects. It was my busiest year. The work never stopped at a point where I was just exhausted constantly. And at that moment, I knew that I needed a change, and that change is actually coming up again soon for me. One of the best ways that I found that I can manage burnout is I outsource and I automate really whatever I possibly can. But for creatives, outsourcing can be really hard, and that's actually still something that I'm trying to figure out. You see, what I do has a bottleneck of editing, and editing is where the story's built. And I'm trying to find somebody that I can trust to edit my stuff. I mean, I could do a whole other video on this topic, and I think I probably will later on because it's something that I've been struggling with personally, and I'd love to hear somebody else's opinion on it. Another thing that helps me with burnout is I remember my why. Like, doing these YouTube videos is actually a lot more work than I thought, at least just to get it started, because it's always going to be harder before it gets easier. You're still learning things, and you have to try to build a process that's going to work best for you. I remember my why, and my why for like my videography company is I'm getting to tell stories, and my why for this is I get to provide value to you on things that I've learned by doing this. When I focus on that, on doing a story justice, it just makes it so much easier for me to go through all that work. It reignites my ambition because I have to tell a story right. Step 3 is marketing yourself and really creating that word of mouth. Once you have your skill and your pricing set, it's really time to get out there even more. Early on, Instagram was a huge part of my marketing efforts at first, and it did pay off. My website metrics even showed a substantial amount coming from Instagram. The key that I recommend with advertising on social, and this is important because people need to understand this, is that you should post the content and wait until you see what really delivers organically. That tells you the audience likes it and it's worth putting money behind to show to new people. If you're going to start putting money behind a post that nobody liked in your audience, then you're wasting your time and your money because that's not working for your audience. They don't care about it. So what I recommend if you're going to boost on social is you boost the things that are already doing well on your page. Don't boost some random thing that you haven't even tested with your audience yet. You're going to probably lose money. I mean, why would you pay to promote something that your audience is already ignoring? Organic reach, interactions, and audience retention are the biggest things right now. If people are organically interested and engaged in your content, that is what you promote. Now, I hope this doesn't sound rough, but I mean, I was guilty of this too. The biggest mistake I see creatives make is expecting everybody to care about you immediately. I think this is a huge reason why YouTube vlogs have started to die. Nobody knows who you are. We don't care that you're going to the grocery store. What value can you provide us? And I still see that kind of content today, and it never has many views. A lot of people aren't interested in that. They want to see the value that you provide. And sometimes you can find that value by digging deep in your own personal experiences because there's no one like you. And that's kind of what I'm doing here on this YouTube channel. I'm providing value. These are things I've learned. I know I have the ability to do things that others might want to try to do. And, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to do this because I've experienced a lot. I've learned a lot. I still have way more to learn, but that's why I'm documenting that part. At the end of the day, there's still things I can give you value from. I want to see everybody succeed. That's, you can build a lot of credibility by just doing your creative projects for yourself, not even for a client, and then put those in your portfolio, just kind of like a practice. Because I don't think you should ever do things for free, but those passion projects that you might have that you want to go and take on, those could be portfolio pieces and then actually give you a client that wants to pay you. That is what I highly recommend, because if you start doing things for free, they might not value your work as much when you start asking to get charged. And step number 4 is to scale up and increase your rates. Once your business gets traction, it is time to scale. The fastest way to do that is to identify those bottlenecks. Bottlenecks are just tasks that slow you down. Like if I were to unscrew this cap and it all started to come out, it would take longer because it gets narrower in here. This is like editing in video. It takes a while instead of all of it coming out at once. And that's why sometimes you have to outsource things or just make things easier for you. A huge part of scaling that I've learned, and I continue to learn, is just kind of shifting your mindset in a certain way. You don't want to work more, but you want to work smarter. Here, just a second. There's a quote from Tim Ferriss from the 4-Hour Workweek that says the following: being busy is a form of laziness. Being productive is not about working more hours, it's about working on the right things. This hits hard for so many creatives, including myself. Believing that if we have to grind constantly, it's the only way that we grow is not fully accurate. Because if you're constantly being busy and you're not finding any time to kind of refine those systems, you're just doing way more work than you need to. And at that point, you're not being very productive. You're kind of stuck in survival mode. When you focus on premium clients that actually value and care about the work that you do, not only does the work get easier, but the work gets easier for you. And that transition started to happen for me when I realized I don't want to be the cheapest option. I want to kind of change and position myself to be the best option. If you want to grow substantially, you have to do these. Raise your prices as demand increases. Outsource time-consuming tasks so that you can focus on what you do best. Position yourself as a high-value expert rather than a low-cost service provider. Remember, nobody is like you, so please leverage that. Review and refine this process and keep going over it. Think of the steps that you can do right now. Keep improving every single day, and I promise you, you can do it. If you really liked that video and you found a lot of value from it, you should check out this video and make today the day you change your life. You're gonna like it. I promise you, you're gonna like it. Did you click it? I'm waiting.